I'll do, guys. I just want to speak about what's happened in Epping last night and things around it. Before we get going as well, by the way, guys, don't riot. Do not riot or cause violence of any way, shape, or form. And I'm not just saying that for legalistic purposes to sort of keep my nose clean. I genuinely mean that. Don't riot, guys. Obviously for the legalistic reason, it's against the law. If you're in prison, what good are you to anybody there? What are you achieving by going to prison? It's like with those people who were supporting Palestine Action. And by the way, to be clear, I do not support Palestine Action. When they were a legal organisation, supporting them to your heart's content, as much as I don't disagree with people doing it, they're legal right. The government made them a prescribed organisation. And then morons are going out, turning themselves into martyrs, thinking that they're going to be the next bloody Rosa Parks or something. It's not going to happen. You're going to go to prison and everybody's going to forget about you. Like you get the odd person, like Lucy Connolly, you get the odd person who somehow manages to break through. You ain't going to be Lucy Connolly, and it's only by luck that she's ended up getting highlighted like she has done. And I'm pretty sure that she'd rather not be in prison. And But the point I was making again is those people, the Palestine Action people, the morons could carry on just going out and doing the Palestine stuff without mentioning Palestine Action. They are just too thick to be, or too proud to not do it. So just don't go out and riot, guys. And not only that, but you're going to get all the idiots who hate Britain. They're going to be plastering your faces and your actions all over the internet going, look at these far-right thugs. These people are out of control and nobody should take them seriously. You're giving our enemies what they want, propaganda to use against us. Don't do it. Don't cause violence. It's not going to work. The state will come down on you like a ton of bricks. You can't win. You cannot win that one. It's not like with Black Lives Matter rioting where the police will hold back and do nothing and they'll go in with just soft hats on. Or like during the Southport protests where gangs of Muslim men were walking around with swords and the police go, we'll look after you guys, just put your swords in the mosque, don't worry, we're here to protect you. We don't have those luxuries. Our cards are marked before we even go outside. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I would personally say don't even turn up to the protests. Like, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. Me personally, I will be staying away from those. Maybe not in the future, but for at least for the foreseeable future. Obviously, we don't know. Times can change, I guess. But just... You're not going to achieve anything by rioting, basically, is all I'm saying. And it's not that I'm not sympathetic, I mean... And again, this is more... I'm saying this more from, like... And I'm not an academic, but from an academic point of view, quote unquote, you see things like the Hare Hills riot. I mean, the government really are telling, they don't want it. But what they're telling the population without saying it is, if you riot, you get what you want. Because we had like the Hare Hills riot, where those kids were taken away from, I think they were gypsy parents, Roma gypsies, and the locals just burnt Hare Hills to the ground, set a bus on fire, set a police car on fire, blah, blah, blah. Next day, or a couple of days later, the family had the kids back. Same with Chris Cabba, where the copper shot Chris Cabba. Everybody started kicking off, rioting. All of a sudden, the copper's getting investigated, even though he'd done nothing wrong. And even like last year after the Southport protests, and they tried to set fire to that hotel in, I think it was Rochdale, was it? Maybe. Just 1 second. Right, I've just had a quick look online. I think the hotel was Tamworth, but that's beside the point. I mean, I'm sure everybody remembers that there was the hotel that got set on fire. Not the full hotel didn't go up, but they set fire to like the doorway and that. But anyway, there's no migrants in that hotel anymore, and it's back to normal public use again. Now, what message does that send to people? What it says is and in Northern Ireland as well, where there was the Roma gypsies who allegedly attacked some young girls. So the locals burnt the house down and then burnt the community centre down when they found out that the people they perceived to be a problem were being housed there. Now they don't have those people there. What's this message? What is the government saying to people there? It's like when you lodge complaints, like with this Epping, like this Bell Hotel in Epping, the local council have tried to lodge complaints. The people have done petitions. The people have been out and peacefully protested. They've done everything within the power, and the Home Office and the government has gone, no, you're having these people whether you like it or not. And we don't care if they're sexually assaulting people. You just have to You're just going to have to adjust your lives to accommodate these people. Like they were actually, schools were telling them, the parents, not to let the kids walk home on their own and stuff. That's the sort of things they say. Don't let your kids go out after dark and things. So it's like your whole life in your idyllic little part of Britain, where for thousands of years people have lived pretty comfortable lives and carefree lives, with the odd occasion of war. Very rare. Like over the grand scheme of things, it's a very small part where there's been like barbarian attacks or whatever else. Vikings and that. They were. Like we hear about these things like the Vikings invading, but most people in that period of time never would have seen a Viking in the whole life. Or if they ever did see a Viking, it would have been once, if they were lucky enough to at least survive it. So these things were. It's not like it was constant death and destruction. So you've got people who are living idyllic lives being told you're going to have to adjust your entire way of life, which your parents, your grandparents, and your great grandparents have known for at least the last 150 years. To accommodate these strangers from another part of the world who are going to contribute nothing and are just chances, in my opinion. So what are the government saying? In my opinion, what they're saying is well, if you attack the hotel and you try and set it fire to it or to the houses that we're housing these people in, we'll move them out and put the problem somewhere else. That's what they're saying. They're saying we want, and I don't want this to be true, by the way, guys. And do not engage in violence. I'm going to say it again. Do not engage in violence. But what they're basically saying is we want you to let us know to change tactics by being violent, because that's all we're going to respond to is violence. And that's the reality of it. It's a lot of the reasons why the rape gangs happened and why they were covered up, because the police decided, on the grand scheme of things, that the potential of race riots was a bigger risk worth preventing by allowing those girls to get raped and covering it up. This is the mindset that these people have. They don't think, well, we'll stop this crime here, and then if that creates bigger problems down the road, we'll then deal with that problem later. It's like, no, we'll stop the bigger problem by allowing this smaller problem to happen. And it's a pathological way of thinking, really, and it's cowardly as well in some regards. But are the government going to change tack on this? Probably not. I don't think they've got the balls to do it. I really don't. They're too committed, especially Labour. Labour are very reliant on a lot of the votes of the communities that support these people coming over. So they will, for self-preservation, do it. And the Conservative, well, and again, this is what I've spoken about in the past, but it's just popped back into my head again earlier today. The Conservative Party, it's something like a quarter to a third of all of their donors. The largest donor block is house builders. Like I say, about a quarter to a third of all donations come from those people. So is it really a surprise that the Tories open the floodgates to millions and millions of people? Because house prices go through the roof, rents go through the roof, there's an endless supply of people to fill houses, because we're not having enough kids in the country. Because of immigration, I firmly believe immigration is the reason why Indigenous people aren't having kids, because they can't afford it, because there's too much stress and pressure. Wages aren't going up, But yeah, so house builders are going to give more money to the Tories, because the cost of housing is spiralling up. Not to build them, to sell them, to buy them. So the government, if you're trying to get a house, you're competing against the government who wants to buy a house to shove Abdul in. And his 12 kids and his 3 wives. It's just a spiral up, and it's all paid for by the taxpayer. So the house builders are going to keep giving money to the Tory party, and the Tory party are going to keep doing this to keep the house builders happy. They're actually replacing us to push up the stocks and share prices of house builders. It's infuriating. But then you have other problems as well. Like, I've probably said this before, but there's an Amazon depot near me full of Indians. Absolutely full of Indians. And the only thing I can assume is they're advertising in India and shipping them over here, because Boris Johnson allowed that to be done. He changed the law saying businesses don't need to advertise for jobs in the UK. They can just advertise overseas. So again, why should you get a pay rise when a company can just ship over a bunch of Indians who'll work for minimum wage? This is what we're up against. It's just a huge, and this is why I'm a nationalist, by the way, guys. This is why I'm a member of the Homeland Party, because unfortunately, nationalism is the only answer to these kinds of problems. Because every other political philosophy, as well-meaning as they are, has wiggle room. Like Nigel Farage say, well, we'll reduce immigration. Well, then what you'll do is you'll get the legal lawyers coming in and going, well, what about this one specific case here? We'll let this one guy in. And how about, oh, well, now this guy's in, we're going to have to let his wife in and his kids because that wouldn't be fair, would it? Oh, and how about this other case over here? Oh, and how about this other one over here? And how about this other one over here? And before you know it, you've got a million exceptions in a year. And you're back to square one again. Because the philosophy of so-called mainstream parties are so weak and they're incapable of just saying no. And that's where nationalism has an advantage, because nationalism is about the national interest and the national people of this country. So you can just turn around and go, no. And if anybody comes up with any sort of emotional argument, like with these Afghans saying they served the British Army, well, as a nationalist, I'll go, well, that's their choice to have done that in their own country. Nothing to do with us. We paid them, we fed them, and we housed them while they were working for us. Then the contract ended. That's it. See you later. You made your choice. That is the difference. It's that grown-up way of people taking responsibility for their own choices and their own actions, which other political philosophies don't have. I know what I've spoken about wasn't so much about Epping itself, but it's more about the outlying stuff around it and just what it's highlighting really. And don't riot, guys. Don't do it. You ain't gonna do us any good. But the government, my God, it's so predictable that people are gonna riot. Like, it's so goddamn predictable that people are gonna riot when there's foreign nonces being housed where they live. Like, you could put your entire life savings on it and it'd be zero risk on that riot happening at some point. You know, it's just so goddamn predictable. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. Take care and goodbye.